Hey, aloha everyone.
Aloha.
Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness, and I'm here with my friend Kristen Nicole, and we're going to be talking about astrology. A lot of times people think astrology is just woo-woo, and it really doesn't matter, and people, shouldn't be really paying attention to it, and it's just fun to have your chart read, but really, what is it, and why is it important, and how can it help us in our day-to-day lives? So Kristen, thank you so much for joining on this YouTube channel.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So how long have you been doing this work, astrology work?
10 years, but it's like multiple lifetimes.
Yeah. Awesome. And how has it helped you? Like, what have you noticed in your own life when you're understanding the planets and where they are in the solar system, and how has it supported you?
Yeah, so astrology is, astrology is the study of astrology, the cosmos. And there's lots of different ways that astrology has been used it's in every civilization. So we have it in Western, Greco-Roman, Hellenistic, evolutionary, Hawaiian astrology. We're in Hawaii, so Hawaiian astrology, Mayan cosmology, and my personal practice is called humanistic astrology. So it's working with more of a personal approach. And so I use it as a healing tool. And the first time I discovered astrology was about 10 years ago. And a medicine mama asked me to get my chart read. And it was more just to see the dynamics of a partnership at that time. And so, I learned some basic things. And as soon as I have many astrologers that I work with personally. And when I had my first chart reading, I found out that I had a Pisces moon. And it was this whole thing about, I'm sensitive, and that's not a weakness. That's an asset. And so when we have our chart read and we start learning about the archetypes, we can start working with our inner landscape in a way that helps to understand the emotional breakdown or the emotional landscape of our lives. And so that was my first introduction. And as a kid, I don't know if you ever noticed that the stores, they used to sell those little wrapped papers. Mm-hmm. And you can go and get like the little wrapped papers and you unroll them.
Yeah,
and you get to read
they're
in a circle. And so when I was a kid, I remember always being drawn to those. And every time I would go to the store, I'd ask my mom if I could have, can I get one of those little papers, those little rolls? And so it's always been in my cosmology, but I think that it's just a beautiful practice for everyone to engage with themselves and to learn more about the know thyself, the sacred know thyself. So as we are embarking on the age of Aquarius and what that really means, we can start looking at the archetype of Aquarius as a community offering of the sacred waters. And just brief history, one thing I learned recently that I was unpacking was the history of Aquarius used to be founded on a whole tribe of women, the Poseidon women, and they were all water carriers. And this is more Greco-Roman, so it was the Minoan archetype. But the women who carried the waters, they were called Poseidon women. And then that archetype over the years has gotten changed into, now we think of Poseidon as this old man with a beard and a trident. And so that idea, similar with Aquarius, we think of Aquarius as a water bearer. Oftentimes they say Virgo is the only feminine archetype in the astrological zodiacal wheel. However, as I've come to develop my own practice, I've been seeing that archetype as no, the women are the water bearers. And so how can we educate people on just that type of thing, that mythology? So there's so many different aspects. There's emotional, there's spiritual, shamanistic, and then obviously history. So the history of the stars, in more of an ancient time, astrology was always combined with astronomy. They were never separate. And this is when we have the times of Galileo and Kepler and Copernicus. They were all astronomers and astrologers. And so this idea that, astrology is very woo-woo, even that is misconception over the, missing the actual wisdom of the cosmos, wisdom of the stars. And so, so the breakup happened around the time the church was coming. They said, how come we can't get rid of these astrologers? As Caesar, they kept trying to get rid of them all, and they kept coming back. So they just incorporated them. And for a long time, the Catholic Church was the largest employer of astrologers. So there's so much history with the stars. And my practice is called Quantum Venus. That's my astrology name. And the way that I work with it now is more personal reports with people. So looking at the chart, but understanding how to pull the story out as a reflection of different types of, it's a bit intuitive, but also historical. And so when I work with clients, I will look at their chart and intuit and read the chart. So my teacher is Christopher Renstrom over in Salt Lake, and he's been practicing for, 40 years, maybe even longer. And he was out of New York, from California, and writes for the San Francisco Chronicle and does more daily reports. But his practice is called Ruling Planets, and he is very Capricornian. So it's all about the right time and the charts and keeping the fundamentals. And so when I first had my chart read, and then, that was probably maybe 2 years of my own work with another astrologer in California. And then when I met Christopher, that was really the indicator that, this is my teacher and this is who I want to learn from.
So how did knowing or having your chart read, how did that support you?
How did it support me?
Mm-hmm.
I remember the exact day, the first time I had my chart read. I remember the experience of just all of these things. And one of the things is 2012. And she said, my astrologer said, do you own a truck? And I said, no. And she said, have you ever been to Hawaii? And I said, no. And she goes, these things are coming out as in addition to so many other tidbits of information.
And then she does have a truck now. And she does live on the Big Island.
Yeah, in Hawaii. And so it's a tool for navigation, right? So Hawaii, the ancient wayfaring practice, like this is the Moana lineage, right? It's the wayfaring practice of being able to navigate using the stars to navigate our soul path and find our way back through our thoughts and through our family, through our lineage, through our experiences in life to provide context with the conflict and with the love and different events that will occur. It helps to be used as a tool to just provide context into the things that we're experiencing. Mm-hmm. So awesome. First time I had my chart read, it was mainly just the Pisces moon, like, emotionally, I remember my cousin had just had a baby, and it was like, just a very deep time of my life. I'd had panic attacks that year. Like it was 2012, so everybody was getting activated. And for me, it was that first experience just opened up this healing landscape of so many other aspects of my personality. Like, okay, your Mars is in Virgo. So when you learn about Mars, it's the planet of drive, and it's the planet of yang initiation. How are you initiating your force in life? And so, Virgo is like a rodent. It's like a rabbit energy. And so being able to use it to be focused and find details and realizing that, no, it's not my archetype for getting things done is not in a violent way. It's more like a rabbit.
That's
or
true.
Like a rodent.
I know her.
It's like,
I totally see that in you.
Yeah. So everybody, and then what we do is we use these archetypes to transmute. So an archetype, for example, of Mars and Virgo, there's high sides, there's low sides. It's all, and then becoming beyond the duality. So learning about our own chart as a way of seeing the spectrum of the archetype, and then what we resonate with, what we don't resonate with, what we want to keep more of, what we want to shed or purify. And you can also use it over time as a chart to map your soul. So you can start pegging different astrological alignments with different things, events that happen in your life. So one of the big questions that people have oftentimes when they go to get their chart read is that they don't know their birth time.
Oh, you gotta close it. Wait,
Okay.
All right.
So people might not know their birth time. And one of the ways that the astrologers who focus in that particular practice to discover your birth time is to look at significant events that have happened through your life and when they happened. And then aligning that with what the planets were doing or what the major alignments were, and then being able to deduce from that an appropriate time. Yeah, just based on, oh, well, you got married in this year and that was a Gemini or a Virgo, time. So you're working with kind of more, well, and also Venusian. So there could be some aspects of coupling in the stars. And then that could be like, oh, okay, then you got married. And so, or Saturnian, even these long-term commitments that we make.
Okay.
And so, so that's
awesome.
Okay,
cool. And can you give us
one aspect?
One quick thing about what's happening with Aquarius? Like, what should we be looking for? What can we be looking for in an Aquarian time that we're going in? Like, what does Aquarian really mean?
So there's different types of planets. So there's inner planets and outer planets. The inner planets are personal planets. So that would be the sun, the moon, even though they're not planets. In astrology, they're often counted as that. And so people will know their sun sign or their moon sign or their rising sign, which is the point of the horizon at the moment of your birth. And so those aspects of your personal life versus some of these outer planets past Saturn, but into Uranus, into Pluto and Neptune, which govern more of the cosmology of the collective. So Aquarius is fascinating because it has two rulers, Uranus, which is a very out there alien planet that governs revolution. It rotates on its axis in a different way than all the other planets. And it's very, very foreign, but alien. It governs lightning strikes and revolution and cycles. And then in between, so Aquarius is co-ruled by Uranus, which is very new age, and Saturn, which is very structured and tradition. So when we talk about the age of Aquarius, we're blending the old and the new in a uniform way with the collective.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, so when people refer to the age of Aquarius, they're talking about a time of community, of everyone. So Aquarius represents all of the stars in the sky. It's the opposite of Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun, which is one star. Aquarius represents the entire cosmic landscape.
Unity.
And unity, consciousness, exactly. And so, so when we talk about the age of Aquarius, we're talking about ways that we're harmonizing the collective. So
I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much. So take into, if you want to, Kristen's email or her website, I can leave it in the description below so you can learn more about that. But also just taking a time right now to really understand that the programming of us thinking that, astrology is woo, actually it goes way, way deeper. And this is a science that used to be used regularly in society. So let's go back to really understanding what it means to have our chart read. What does it mean about the planets and the time we're in right now, which is the Aquarian time, which is unity and harmony and peace that's coming. So it starts with each one of us internally internalizing those type of aspects of unity, harmony, and peace. So sending you guys all of that today and throughout this year. Much aloha, everyone.
Aloha.